As D.C. barrels towards yet another government shutdown, a bipartisan bill to keep the lights on was scrapped. And it has a lot of folks asking, who is in charge? Because I've been saying it for a while.
Yes, you have.
I've been saying that I think Elon Musk believes he's president. I do.
Well, you've been calling him vice president.
I've called him vice president. I called him president because I don't know what JD is doing. I hardly ever say. I don't remember the last time we even talked about JD.
You're right. He's planning the presidency when they get rid of Trump.
So
y'all do realize that Trump hasn't even been inaugurated yet. This just shows you how delusional and how disconnected that they are. But on top of that, you also need to be asking yourself the question is, where is Biden? I'm reacting to this in real time. I didn't see this prior to having this conversation and doing this recording right now. But why is nobody asking, where's Kamala Harris? Where's Biden? Because they are the ones that are in office right now. Why aren't we hearing from them? Why aren't they a part of this conversation? They are still getting paid, right? They are still the president and the vice president of the United States of America. And as a matter of fact, J.D. Vance was on Capitol Hill helping to negotiate to try to get some bipartisan agreement in place, some standard in place temporarily so that they can still fund the federal government while at the same time negotiating for a better deal that more or less reflects what the American people has voted for as far as Trump then getting into office on January 20th. But why is nobody asking a question? Why they don't have the same smoke for Biden? Why don't they have the same smoke for Kamala Harris? Because again, they are the acting president and the vice president of the United States of America. So while Whoopi sit here and run her big head, nobody is really getting down and dirty into the thick of things because Trump has been acting president since November. Actually, he was acting president prior to that because the whole international community had been paying attention to the election and making adjustments accordingly. He's been negotiating already with Canada and Mexico, and he got SoftBank to commit to at least $100 billion investment inside the United States of America. And J.D. Vance is literally, I just looked at the video of him, literally on his way to try to help and negotiate a deal. Meanwhile, Congress tried to push this through at the very last minute with all of these different things inside of it that didn't make sense for the United States of America. And they sitting here asking, well, where's Trump? Trump ain't even president yet. But we'll get there. We'll get there.
You think it's Musk Vance?
Possible.
Hey, you know who? Stay away from the stairways. Because, you know, people put the leg out to trip you going down the stairs. Watch out. But it kind of seems like maybe he is the president because he got a promotion of some sort that none of us knew about. Just look at the clip. You'll understand.
What's your message to Elon Musk?
Well, I was communicating with Elon last night. Elon and Vivek and I are on a text chain together. They understand the situation. They said, it's not directed to you, Mr. Speaker, but we don't like the spending. I said, guess what, fellas? I don't either.
It's pretty clear that they were about to pass the bill, and Musk intervened, and Trump followed him, and now we're headed into this crisis period. CNN. Eventually, they're going to have to get together and decide who the president is.
So, I mean, why? What's going on? Anybody? I'll take it from anybody. What do y'all think is going on?
Well, it's a long-standing D.C. tradition, if we want to call it that the Congress decides until the 11th hour right before Christmas to fund the government. Right. And it's ridiculous. They think jet fumes and getting home for the holidays makes people more likely to compromise. But Trump doesn't want this bill, this government funding bill passed because he doesn't want the debt ceiling to be raised in June when he's president. Republicans generally don't want to vote to raise the debt ceiling. They generally don't want to sign into law an increase in it. So Trump's actually aligned with Elon on this. Here's what I'm fascinated by. They both have main character energy. They both want to be powerful and the people in charge. And I'm not convinced that this alliance is going to be super long lasting. There's just a chance there's going to be friction between Elon and Trump. But I will say this, there was a micro drama brewing. Nick Jonas, one of my other favorite Jonas brother, retweeted something with Elon Musk, and people just dragged him and came for him and were like, how could you support this guy? I would just remind folks, we think of Elon as like the chaotic guy who tweets about politics on the internet. A lot of America thinks of a guy who builds rockets, who created Starlink, which could save thousands of lives.
Here's the thing, he's on track to be the first trillionaire in this country. Yes. And he wants to cut funding for farmers, for example. Yeah. You know, as they say, no farmers, no food.
Yeah. No,
you know?
But in other words,
do you hear how delusional that these women are? This is literally the best and the worst show ever. This is the best and worst show ever. They could not be any more wrong. What's happening with the budget is that Democrats are trying to hold over Republican heads and say, hey, listen, farmers and funding for hurricane victims and all of that stuff, all of that is in the budget, but you guys don't want to do a bipartisan agreement. Why? Well, what they also put inside of the budget, as I did in another video, is raises for themselves and football stadiums and a lot of other crap, which is one of the reasons why the Department of Government Efficiency, which Vivek Ramaswamy actually read the entire 1,500-page document along with Elon Musk, is in place in order to reduce the spending from the federal government because we are headed off of a cliff. Stop getting your talking points from Blue Sky. Best and worst show ever. Best because it's always something that's stupid for us to react to, and worst because they always have the worst takes ever.
Working people. Well, so he's like the Grinch who stole Christmas, this guy. So why should anybody praise him?
My
Why?
point is the
Tell
disconnect, I think, between like average Americans who think of him and associate him with actually great things he's done. Tesla has done great things for this country and for this economy. And they're not thinking about that he's tweeting about government funding bills or conspiracy theories.
See, the problem is people really need to understand that he is not an elected official. Yeah. So he's in an advisory position, and so he's going to have conflict of interest with all of his businesses, because if he were an elected official, there would be a system of checks and balances, and he would have to divest from those businesses. So he's going to earn money from our government while running our government. And as Hakeem Jeffries said in a press conference, but also in this tweet, he said House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government, hurt the working class Americans they claim to support. You break the bipartisan.
The fake Obama that just said exactly what I just said and tried to make it seem like that's what's going on. No, Democrats are going to lose power, and they know that they are, and they trying to raise the debt ceiling, and they trying to run up a bag before Trump get into office, and that's not going to play. Not happening. And we don't know where Biden is. He probably taking a vacation and sleeping somewhere.
Partisan agreement, you own the consequences that follow. And that's the consequences are exactly, Joy, what you're talking about. They are hurting working people. You want to keep on saying they're hurting their own voters. Everybody keeps on saying, oh, you know, the Republicans are now the party of the working class. Well, working class is about to be
well, and let
hurt
us remember
by
when the government shuts down, Congress still receives pay, which I think should not.
Members, but not staff. That always irks me.
Members, but they also, in the spending bill, asked for a raise. And normally I'm all for people having living wages, but they make $175,000, which is more than 90% of this country. If they cannot figure out how to do the one job they have, which is not bend the knee to their party, but serve the people, they don't deserve a raise, and they should not get one.
Talk about this, because this is crazy.
Yeah. Well, Whoopi just handed this card. There's a lot of conflicts of interest with Elon Musk. Tesla received $41.9 million in federal contracts, about $4.9 billion in government subsidies.
Yes, they did.
465.
Now, let me break that down, because a lot of people like to run off numbers, but they don't really understand where those numbers come from. One of the things that Biden passed through during his term was all of these different things that basically forced EV mandates, which the Republican Party is against, meaning that the Republican Party is the party of choice. They don't want anything forced on anybody. It's called capitalism. But what Biden promised was all of these EV chargers and all of this infrastructure update and things like that. And what they didn't deliver and what they didn't have the availability to do was actually do so. And what they did was they started to negotiate with Elon Musk, because they are the ones that are standing up the majority of infrastructure, when it comes to EV charging inside of the United States of America. That's part of what it is. Also, on top of that, the Biden administration is subsidizing EV vehicles in order to get more widespread adoption, while at the same time trying to build the infrastructure. So what they did was they incentivized all companies that make EV vehicles to sell them by giving subsidies for every EV vehicle that's sold. So basically, you as a consumer, if you decide to buy a GM Equinox or a Porsche, right? Porsche Taycan or a Tesla Model Y or whatever that is, right? You then can get certain amount of money off of your vehicle, which I believe at the time it was like $7,500 or something like that, off of every new EV vehicle sold. For those automakers that don't sell them or that don't really meet the standards and the mandates, they still have to meet certain government efficiencies, but at the same time, they can buy those credits from other EV makers such as Tesla. So when you see a lot of these women name these stuff, but they really can't speak, they can't break down everything that goes on within this because they're not business people. They just get talking points from whatever their producers say. They're just lying to you. They're just talking. It doesn't mean anything. You see what I'm saying? Let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. I don't want to go too far. It just shows how stupid and how ignorant these women are. They need to be reading more legal notes, Sonny Hostin. But let me know what y'all think inside of the comments. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.